everybody. Thanks for joining us. And today I've got a special guest, different from the ordinary corporate world. I've got with me Rav Thomas. Who is he? He's the owner of Anthem Entertainment, and he's had three independent #1 hits on the music charts. He owned and still owns a few hotels in Melbourne, and he booked over 700 different acts in 2019 and represents top-line entertainment such as AFL stars and musicians. So thanks for joining us today.
Pleasure.
So I was intrigued because, widespread remote work is no longer new. But what were the biggest changes to the entertainment world? So weddings, comedy shows, live gigs, touring, sport. So what have you noticed?
Well, look, the biggest change was that the rug was pulled from underneath us entirely. And we're really careful I have these conversations a lot, as you can imagine, Friska, and we're really keen to have a sense of proactivity and positivity and discuss a sense of adaptation and all those sorts of things. But the biggest change was that it was the biggest single cataclysm we could have imagined, in that, it wasn't something I really thought about, but I realised that every cent that I'd earned in my life was reliant on people leaving their homes and congregating in a large group. So COVID, not ideal.
Yeah.
So look, that was, in a word or in a paragraph, the biggest change was that it was a complete annihilation, at least for a period, and it's going to be and we'll discuss a bit of this, but it's going to be a long time out of it. That probably the biggest questions are, what are the permanent changes? What are the permanent scars?
Yeah.
And how can we make ourselves better?
Yeah. And in your opinion, so who in the entertainment industry did adapt? Who adapted? Who's come out better and stronger?
I think, look, I reckon that's really TBC at the moment for a lot of us, because, and you saw, this is, what are we, we're the 4th of February. So, I mean, we had a presser in Melbourne last night from the state government at 10:30 last night. So things are still so fluid. So as to how we come out the other side, I reckon it's, we're still to find out who is, when the tide goes out, we'll find out who was swimming naked, So, but I think those that probably did the best were those that delivered quality in terms of online content. And, we learned very quickly there is never, particularly say locally here in Melbourne, where we're stuck in our lounge rooms for 9 months, but homeschooling our kids, but there've never been so many eyeballs in history. But at the same time, there had never been so much competition for those eyeballs. So what it meant was that our advice to everyone was that if you are going to create content, make it good. And so those that did well were the ones that actually probably made the effort to not just do content for the sake of it, those that actually created meaningful content, high quality visual and audio content as well. Those that made those efforts probably did better. Now, as to whether that's worth it or not, again, that's what we're going to find out, because I think, it was still very important for businesses of all types to, whether they're selling something or not, to maintain their connection to their customer, even if they're not getting a revenue back from it. But I think what we're still to find out is what portion or percentage or, what sort of meaningful contribution online content will make to the live entertainment industry, which is, which is certainly where I work and have worked my entire life. So that we don't know. We have I think a lot of the industry are optimistic or buoyant about it, and I think a lot of them are skeptical. I'm probably, and again, not trying to be negative, but I'm quite skeptical about its place going forward once we're able to be around, get ourselves off the couch and get to live entertainment going forward, because I think the reason live entertainment of all types is excellent is because it is live, right? That's why it's brilliant. You can't replicate it. So look, some top line acts, and we saw what, say, Kiss did on New Year's Eve, where they did a show from Dubai, and the highest, they broke the Guinness World Records for the best ever pyro and all sorts of stuff. So that's wonderful, but that's still not going to replicate someone going to going to a concert. And I think the biggest thing is that the problem with the internet is that it's free, and so if you are going to offer something online to your customer, you've really got to offer something really unique and really good to make them think, well, I can't get this anywhere else. I'm prepared to pay $20, $30, $50 or whatever it is to be part of an online experience.
Yeah, 100%. And for this year, what are some changes to events, touring and hospitality that in your mind we are yet to see?
Well, look, I think, again, we're yet to see it. And it's funny, the conversations I'm having today with venues is different from what I had yesterday based on, how everyone's feeling. It'll probably be different tomorrow depending on what the case numbers look like in Melbourne. And we're certainly in a position where we were starting at the end of the year to start to have conversations with our partners in other states that then stopped again because we saw what happened in New South Wales and Western Australia right now and all that sort of stuff. So again, it's still a bit of a TBC. Certainly more separate from the online stuff, but more boutique events, smaller events, lower risk events. We've done some stuff where we've had some of our AFL talent at a winery, for example, for 14 people. Now, that's not something we would have ever thought of doing, where an event like that would normally have a break-even point of maybe 300 people.
Wow.
We know that running those sort of risks, with those sort of numbers is a lot more difficult. So look, so going left and right a little bit with more sort of meet and greet and that sort of stuff, events and smaller, more intimate events will possibly form part of it. And again, as to whether that stays and the online content, whether that stays to what percentage would be dependent on a few things. And I think primarily on how quickly we get to a point where we can go back to what would be considered a normal existence in terms of live entertainment.
Cool. And my last question is, how can we support the hospitality industry? How can we better support your sector?
That's excellent. The first thing you can do is when you are allowed and able to get off the couch and go and see a live event, whether that's an indie band, whether that of any type, whether that's theatre, whether it's comedy, tribute shows, whatever it is, go and do it. All right, because the live entertainment industry was already battling big. It had a lot of forces that have changed thanks to the internet more than any. Live entertainment was already up against Facebook and constant AFL on television and Tinder, for example. The hospitality, you don't have to go out to meet someone anymore. So a lot of those things had already made it more difficult. And what it meant for, say, a business like Anthem is that we had to, and in a way, it's a good thing because it keeps us on our toes. It means that we have to offer really, really compelling reasons for you to leave your house. Well, now that's even more so. So, so that's the first thing you can do. And I think in terms of just hospitality, is just to. Hospitality has a lot of the venues we work with, they've lost 75% of their staff. They're still trying to get their head around new procedures. So a lot of our rooms are going okay, and the spend per head in a lot of those rooms is up, but they're still dealing with, one venue we work with, their capacity is 420, we can get 130 in there. So we're really trying to work out how those numbers work and keep people on the stage and keep people going back. So the first thing you can do as a customer is go there in the first place. Be nice to the staff because the staff are doing their best.
Hell yeah.
And where bookings are required, this is one that sort of really does pop up. If you book for 6 people, have 6 people come, and if that changes, let the venue know.
Okay, great advice. Thank you so much for your time today, Rob. Really appreciate it.
Briscoe, I really appreciate it. And, to everyone that's involved in the hospitality, entertainment and event sector, we're always here for an ear or assistance of any kind. And we really appreciate people like you that continue to make sure that we can keep having these conversations so we can get better and put more people back into work.